Hello, BookTube. Well, it's been quite some time since we did a Stevestream, hasn't it? And I'm hoping once again, as I always say with these live streams, I'm hoping that it will pick me up, that it will perk up my spirits. I shouldn't say that today has been an unrelieved wasteland of things that are dampening the spirits. Good things have happened, very much so. I had a visit to the Brattle bookshop this morning that was wonderful, as they always are. I've had wonderful walks with the bean that were really, really enjoyable. They're enjoyable anyway because she bustles along and is preternaturally aware of what I want to do and what I don't want to do. There's never any struggle for control, never any arguments or disagreements about anything. Uh, and she loves to stop when she meets people. When we meet humans, she likes to stop and stick her nose into what they're doing. If you're hunkered down on a sidewalk side garden when we walk by, God help you, she's going to stick her nose right into what you're doing. And when you pay attention to her, she's going to start vibrating and want you to pet her and fuss over her. That's just what she's going to do, and it's delightful. No one ever dislikes that. So there have been pick-me-ups. I was also part of a live stream earlier today. Some of my co-hosts for Dr. November about espionage fiction in the month of November. So we did a live stream, and it was a lot of fun. We talked in nitty-gritty detail about the spy who came in from the cold, and it was very enjoyable. We didn't have a full complement of hosts, but it was still very enjoyable, and also BookTube itself. Not only was it full of its usual wonders, but there were two very standout pieces of good news today. Jason Harrigan, mi compadre, the one third of the Three Musketeers, made a return to BookTube. This is like his fifth or seventh return to BookTube. His channel name is now Boleskine Books, Boleskin Books. Uh, Same old Jason though, an absolutely wonderful video. Chatty and immensely informed, just wonderful. I hope, of course, that he sticks around. But even seeing a video was enough to pick up the day. And also, I don't know if you saw, but the Bookish Bryants have been gone for a long time from BookTube. They were thick as thieves with the rest of us for events and fun and joshing and all sorts of interesting responses. And then they disappeared. And there's an announcement video that they will be back this weekend. So that's good news. Those are two returns. Anytime anybody returns to BookTube, I'm happy to see it. Very much so. So there were pick-me-ups in the course of the day. But there were also things tailor-made to depress the spirits. And I blame myself for even knowing that they exist because I go where you can find them, the news and social media. I go to those places intentionally. If I didn't, I would not know these things. But the irritation to me of not knowing always makes me look at just one poisonous thing after another that is bound to get to you. It's bound to get to you. Uh, People just anyway. The slight tipping of the balance in favor of the negative as a result of going where I knew I would find negatives made me want to do a live stream. I have a few friends on YouTube who say that live streams always pick them up, and I have always found that to be true. So I thought I would do that. We have certainly plenty of things to talk about. I am sitting here on the fainting couch. I don't usually make videos on the fainting couch anymore. I've been making a lot of them in the little book room. I really like the background of my floor. I've got floor to ceiling bookcases in there. I have floor to ceiling bookcases in this room as well, but they're not in this corner. This corner fits this couch perfectly, so it tends to be here. And the bean very much values her window seat. Uh, but I mean, it's not a negative. But here in this, you can't see it. But here in this corner, I'm utterly surrounded by books. I've been acquiring books. I've been getting tons of books in the mail, some of which I remember to open on camera. I've been getting tons of books at the Brattle and charity shops and for free. And I just pile them here. I pile them at one end of the couch and I pile them on the footlocker. They all need to be inventoried and cleaned and then put away on shelves. I just haven't done it. I should do it every time, but I haven't done it. So there are piles of books everywhere. And I just every time I look at them, I tell myself, well, do it tomorrow. So that's a tiny bit of a negative, but even in the midst of all of these towering piles of books, I'm going to take care of all of these before the bean and I retire into the little book room. I'm going to take care of everything here, including mm, a bit of moving stock around. I It's a whole nother video that I need to make, but I have a closet space in the little book room. It's a and I never use it. It's a very deep closet, and I never use it as a closet. I don't have enough stuff to store. So I I don't work at a retail job anymore, so I don't need sweaters and dress shirts and dress pants and for them to hang nice and neat. I don't need anything like that. So I opened the closet recently, and I thought maybe what I would like would be to put a bookcase in the back of the closet. And foolishly, instead of thinking it out, I actually did it. I pulled a whole bunch of books off a bookcase, moved the bookcase into the closet, shoved it against the back of the closet wall, and then refilled it with books. And I didn't know quite what I thought about it. I consulted a few other interior design mavens, and eventually they helped me come to the conclusion that it's not a good idea. It's never a good idea to put a bookcase inside a closet. So it has to go. It has to come out back out of there. The thing is, it's an awkward bookcase. It's a heavy bookcase. It's an ugly bookcase. It's a cheaply made bookcase. It's particle board. It's the type of thing that students buy for $25 because they can't afford anything more. And I don't pay for bookcases anyway. My favorite ones were made for me by a shirtless, muscular young man, just as all bookcases should be made. My favorite ones, I have 6 of them. They were made for me by him to my dimensions. So they are perfect. And every other bookcase here I have acquired on the sidewalk. Every single one over the years. I have kept the ones that were good, useful shapes and eventually got rid of the ones that weren't. And I think that's what needs to happen here. I wanted that bookcase out of view. And I think that was the main thing. I told myself, no, you don't want it out of view. What you want is a bookcase in the back of that closet. But really, it's that I just don't like that bookcase. And I've been getting rid of a lot of books. I've gotten rid of thousands of books in the last couple of months. So I think what I should do is move all the books off that bookcase to another bookcase and then simply get rid of that bookcase. Just count it among the bookcases that don't work out. It just didn't work out. It happens all the time where I will find a bookcase on the sidewalk. I will lug it back here, or I will get somebody else to lug it back here, and it won't really work. It won't really fit anywhere that I really want it to be. So I get rid of it. I have somebody lug it back outside. I think that's what I'll do with this thing. After all, if you're unhauling books, if you're getting rid of books, thousands of books at a time, you should have the courage of your convictions to, once you've done that, get rid of the bookcases as well. So that you're not just tempted to fill them up again. That should happen. That absolutely should happen. So I think that's what will happen here to maybe make the feng shui feel better. Also, the one element of feng shui that isn't working quite as well as I want is the filming in the little book room. I'm using this thing, the cell phone this is a cell phone, what, 11s or something like that. It's got the 3 cameras. It's really good for filming. I'm now back in love with filming on a phone. I've done it thousands of times, so I haven't done it in a long time. Uh, but the problem is, if you're filming on a phone, you need a tripod, and I spent $4 on this thing, and it's already broken. This leg is already broken, so I can't stand it up like this, or it will just slop like that. So I need to wedge it against something already. This is like 2 weeks old. Uh, and so I've been using a stack of books and a stool in the little book room. But the little book room is called the little book room for a reason. And I don't want an extra stool in there if I don't have to have one. I think the solution, to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, is to spend a little extra money on a tripod that will extend 6 feet into the air. So it literally will work at any filming angle in any location at any distance. I think that's probably the solution. There are plenty of options like that on eBay. And then I can just throw this thing away because it's already broken. It's already got a wobbly leg. Uh, Once I do that, once I have something like that, they fold down to nothing at all, despite how tall they get. I can simply have that in the little workroom. I can tuck it underneath the mattress on the bed, and then when it's time to film videos, take it out and set it up. That way, I won't need a stack of books. I won't need a stool. Those can all come out of there. I think that's what I'll do, and that will solve the feng shui problem in there. I would hope. first the closet, but removing the bookcase from the closet still doesn't answer the essential question of what to do with the closet. I still don't know what to do with that space. I don't have enough stuff to store in there, and I don't want enough stuff to store in there. I'm kind of dead set against the idea of storage. If I don't use something, I shouldn't have it. That's kind of the idea behind getting rid of all these books. But anyway, so what I'm saying, as a throat clearing prologue to our 10 past the hour Steve stream, is that the forces of good and evil have been sort of neck and neck. They always went out because of the bean. They always went out because of her. Uh, that was a little bit dicey yesterday because yesterday I not only gave her a bath, I also gave her a haircut, a stem to stern haircut. I decided to do everything all at once instead of little bits and pieces at a time. So that was made for a tense afternoon. But uh, what I'm trying to say is that the forces of good and evil have been sort of wavering. So I thought I would do a Steve stream to tip the balance and send me into a reading night with a smile on my face. So that's where I am right now. Let's see what the chat is saying because oh my god, one of the traumas of the week. It was a good natured trauma. I was on Friday. I guest starred on uh, the live show that and Greg and another bibliophile reads and Alan Big Hard Books and Classics do every Friday night. They're doing it tonight. I'm sure they'll do it at 8 tonight. And I guest starred. It was wonderful to guest star. It was a lot of fun to do, but it wasn't quite prompt enough with the chat. So it's ironic that I'm ignoring my own chat. Let's take a look at who's here. I imagine there's going to be a lot of people saying hi to each other. Unfortunately, thanks to recent events here in the United States, we can't jokingly call each other vermin anymore because the spiritual leader of 180 million Americans and the leader of one of the two major political parties in this country, the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party for president of the United States, used explicitly Nazi rhetoric, including the word vermin, to describe the enemies that he intends to lock up in concentration camps if he retakes power, which he will never then surrender. So that kind of isn't as fun anymore. But what do we got here? Jenny Park says, "Hi guys, how's your Friday?" Omid Fazeli says hi. Luigi says hi. Gola Muad'Dib says hi. Tim Gaynor says hi. Richardson Reed says hi. Stephen Bean. Ryan says hi. Happy Friday. All discussion about Spy Come In From the Cold earlier. Oh, great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Kevin JN, Steve, did you find Pluto TV? I'm going to rewatch A Spy Who Came In From the Cold when your stream is over. I did find Pluto TV, yes. I not only found it, uh, I added it to my phone. So thank you very much for the recommendation. I will explore around. If it doesn't have enough to satisfy me, or if it doesn't refresh enough, change enough, I can always delete it. It was free, and it seems to be. I will download it on the iPad, and we'll see what kind of bounty they have. That would be great. Although it'd be kind of scandalous if I watched anything on Pluto TV or any other streaming service when I have so many screeners piled up and waiting for me that have been very generously sent to me that I haven't watched yet. You never know though. Original Star Trek that has a call to it. Uh, let's see here, Ryan. It's called doom scrolling for a reason. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's nothing that I can do anything about. I can't do anything about any of this unless every once in a blue moon, someone that I know on Twitter or on Instagram uh, will post that they're having some sort of problem that I can help them with. Well, that almost never happens. If it does, I can do something about that. But otherwise, no. It's just bootless making yourself miserable. Street Medic. So I'm on vacation, but I'm not going anywhere. So I'm just going to spend my time trolling Steve. Jenny Parks, who needs therapy when we have live chaos streams? Yes. Well, I'm sure that this will make me feel better. What's the matter, baby? Huh? Oh. Yeah, that's the one thing we didn't do yesterday. We did a bath, which she put up with because she is smart enough now to realize that she really likes how it makes her feel. And we did a trim of her hair. You won't be able to make it out here, but I did every inch. I even flipped her on her back to trim the long hairs trailing off her belly, which she hates. And I don't blame her because it's some guy with scissors snipping them around a fraction of an inch over her nipples. The one thing I didn't do, the worst thing of all, and you dog people will know right away, the worst thing of all, the one thing I didn't do was nail clipping. And one of the dew claws on her front legs pulled off in its bed when she was a puppy, so that's not an issue anymore. But the other one is a sickle. It needs to be done, or it's going to catch on something when I'm not around. You want to come down here, baby? Ooh, ooh. Look at how trim and clean she looks. Oh, ooh, oh, goodness gracious. Uh, but anyway, Gholam Muad'Dib. I finished my Sword and Sorcery short story yesterday. I may jump back into my sci-fi story next. Wow, I'm one of the treats that I'm reserving for myself uh, later tonight is another chapter of my own NaNoWriMo story. I'm very much looking forward to doing that tonight. Uh, Street Medic, we know how you clean books. Jenny Parks, that video still makes me squeal. Yes, I won't be. I have no mold or mildew in any of my books. So, thankfully, I check everything in the Prattle. I mean, when I get used books anywhere really, but at the Prattle and also at the Book Barn in Niantic, Connecticut, where the books are actually outside. Whenever you're getting books from outside lots, you got to check really carefully to see if you're bringing organisms, alien organisms, into your home. Uh, Let's see here. Street Medic. Jenny Parks, my wife thinks I need therapy regardless of what I'm doing. All right. Ryan, Steve, thank you again for turning me on to Elizabeth George. I am on For the Sake of Elena. It's book 5 about the deaf Cambridge student. I am trying to slow binge, yes. Colin, are the sequels to Lonesome Dove enjoyable? No, they are not. It's not just that they're not enjoyable. They're really, really bad, evil, perverted. You should not read them. McMurtry wrote plenty of other stuff, but there are no. Lonesome Dove is just that one book. Ryan, also Bernard Cornwell Sharp's books have arrived. Giddy, gleeful, grateful, and full of gratitude for your recommendations. Well, isn't that nice? Jenny Parks responding to Street Medic. Street Medic, I force the children to build my bookcase by withholding their gruel until they get it done to my satisfaction, and I'm never satisfied. Well, when it came to the kid who made my bookcases, I told him how tall I wanted it to be, how wide I wanted it to be, how deep I wanted it to be, how tall and deep each bookshelf wanted to be. And he said, okay, no problem. and then when he was done, he drove them over here and brought them in. No shirt. It was absolutely wonderful. What's to complain about? Ryan, congrats on such gratifying NaNoWriMo too. My NaNoWriMo is just. I am going to finish early. I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish the story early. Monet Dora says, good evening. Street Medic, is anyone actually paying attention to what Steve's saying? Well, I would assume so, unless you're talking about Frida. Could be talking about her. Let's see here. Jenny Parks, nope, we're here for Frida. Yes, okay, you're talking about Frida. As Leapy Channel says, hello. Street Medic, I caught something about a wobbly leg. Yes. Yes, one of my tripod. My $4 tripod has a wobbly leg. So I don't get to. I have to throw it away after 2 uses because the $4 didn't go far enough. Michael Lombardo, Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales is perfect timing for your tripod search. Start your research online. Well, I found one. That looks. You don't know how these things are going to be until you get them and use them. But I found one that looks just fine. It's basically. It looks like a kind of the doctor's sonic screwdriver, and you flick a latch and you extend out legs, and then you flick another latch and the rod just extends right up out of it with this part, the bracket for the phone, so that you can extend it to any height that you want. I think it goes up to like 6 feet. So I found plenty of those. I found one. I put it in my Amazon basket. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I really should, because I know that I'm going to want to do that. I know. What are you doing, baby? Oh, goodness gracious. What did you do? Oh, baby, you pulled something off this. Baby girl. You're not supposed to do that. I might still be able to use this. Okay. Let's see here. Joshua Cravo says hello. Malcolm St. John says, good evening, Steve. First live stream I've caught in a while. First one I've done in a while. And I can't stay long, but I felt like I needed a pick-me-up, and these always pick me up. Ed Wiley says hello. Fellow friends, yes. Lindsay Reed says, hi, Steve. Happy Friday. Thank you very much. Jenny Park says, can we all call ourselves furries then? I don't see why we should encourage Wilson, but if you want to, feel free. Street Medic, I've been off for a week and have another week to go. I've already read 6 books. Fantastic. That's the way to Baby, no, you can't destroy this, baby girl. I might need it. Oh my god. She wants to destroy this. You can't do that. Tolstoy 111. Hi, Steve. What's your objection to Spielberg's film Empire of the Sun? Is it merely lack of fidelity to the source? Its first Hollywood film shot in the PRC. No, it's not that it's lack of fidelity to the source. It's just that it's, well, I know this is kind of redundant when it comes to Spielberg, but it's kind of hammy and manipulative. It really is kind of overtly that. So I didn't see much else to pay attention to. Uh, as Leapy Channel says, Frida is looking good. I've seen boards for dogs to scratch instead of the dreaded nail clipping. Yeah, I often tell myself that it'll work just fine just going on endless walks. We walk all the time. Whenever she has the slightest inclination to go outside, we go outside, and we don't come back in until she wants to. And that actually does the trick for the main claws on her main claws, the ones that touch the ground. But the dew claws, they're another thing. They're another thing, and one of them is just a sickle. It's ridiculous, so it needs to be dealt with. Uh, let's see here. Ed Wiley, this morning I watched your review of the Watchmen comics. I have to applaud your talent for poking valid holes in things I love. Keep it up. Well, that's one of the fun things about, especially about Epic Comic Book Wednesday, that I do in collaboration with Michael K. Vaughan, is that we don't always agree. And those are the funnest videos because he's an adult, so he knows how to disagree with a friend and have fun doing it. My favorite is still my incredibly detailed brochetting of Avengers #1. That's still my favorite one to do, although I have a really good bit in my brochetting of Fantastic Four #1. That's also very entertaining. Let's see here. Marg Yo. A.S. Byatt died. Yes. Any thoughts on her body of work? I was thinking about that. I didn't learn about that until this afternoon. And I was at the Brattle shop this morning, and I was looking at some of her books. And there was a hardcover there of well, there were a couple of hardcovers there, and I often think about doing a systematic reread of her. Now I have a lot of ebooks, but the only print book that I have here is her collection of literary criticism, of book essays and reviews and whatnot. I'll definitely reread that. I might put that on the reread for tonight, uh, just out of tribute. Uh, let's see here. Anti Gaia, give us some hope, Steve. It's getting scary out there. Not looking forward to being put in a camp for being vermin a year and a half from now. It's amazing to me that we even need to think about it. This is a self-evident traitor. We're not talking about backdoor deals or coded messages. He incited a violent armed mob to fight like hell and attack the Capitol. He shouldn't be a free man. He shouldn't be alive, but he certainly shouldn't be a free man, much less running for president of the country he tried to overthrow. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. There are 80 different provisions in the US Constitution to prevent it. It's just nobody will actually take the kid gloves off with this guy, not in his whole life. It is ridiculous that we are even thinking about this. He is an avowed traitor. He knew the mob of his supporters was armed, and he pointed them at the Capitol and said, "Go march there and fight like hell." And they did. He's a traitor. He should not be running for president. Instead, you've got news pundits, you've got the Jake Tappers of the mainstream media doing long think pieces about, oh, what would these camps be like? Just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's see here. Anyway, Crackhead, why do humorous books are taken as lesser than big serious books, even if they are constructed excellently? For example, P.G. Wodehouse. Well, I think one of the main reasons is because a lot of them rely on punchlines, on funny bits of business, and that is more trivial, even than serious comedy. That is more trivial. You would never, um, put a Three Stooges routine alongside a fish called Wanda. You would never do that. And I think that's the same reason. The idea is, if this is a cheap gag, then probably it was easy to do. Uh, but there are probably other reasons, probably reasons to do with snobbery. The left hand, wait, where did you go? First time the chat has jumped. The left-handed reader, Steve, that's exactly the type of tripod I have, and it's going strong. I thought for sure I had one of these before, and it didn't break right out of the box, but this one, no. No, and that disinclines me to buy another of the exact same thing, especially since I know what I want. I want something that is only a tripod. This doesn't work on its own. I need to put it on a stool and then on a pile of books, or it doesn't work. I, so I kind of want an object that is just a tripod. So when it's not there, there's nothing there. And they're not. There are plenty of them on Amazon. I just haven't done it because I feel burned by this thing. Uh, let's see here. Street Medic. I'll force the kids to make you a tripod now. They've suffered quite enough. Thank you very much. Erica Wallace. On average, how many hours a day would you say you spend reading? An average of between 8 and 10 hours a day. Today will be more. Today will be more. Tomorrow will certainly be more. Because it looks like it's going to rain all day tomorrow, which means there'll be no. I say that whenever Frida wants to go outside, we go outside. And when it's raining, she doesn't want to go out at all, even when she needs to. She doesn't want to go out at all. So tomorrow's bound to be a lot. Tolstoy 111. Hey, do you like The Confessions of a Thug by Philip Meadows Taylor? Not much spoken of today. No, it's not much spoken of today. I don't like it. No. Michael Lombardo. Any thoughts on Pedro Pascal casting as Reed Richards? Are you trying to get me canceled? Is that what you're trying to do? I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. I will not be watching. I will not be watching the trailer. I will not be watching any of the analysis videos. I simply won't be doing it. Hollywood is intellectually captured. DEI is a score. It's not just an idea. It's a score that determines the terms of your insurance and the terms of your financing. It's an entirely practical thing. Unless you go through your organization and fire everyone who had anything to do with it, then it will run your organization, which means the Fantastic Four, this will once again be a comic book adaptation of Fantastic Four to the big screen that is not faithful to the original material. And I'm kind of sick of that. So, and I don't mean not faithful in the little ways that the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Phase 1 was unfaithful. I mean unfaithful in terms of attacking the fans, saying the reason we're changing this is because you're a bad person and your grandparents are bad people. I don't mean that. I mean the second kind. So, for instance, the travesty that we saw last time, the Fantastic Four came to the big screen. Not that anyone remembers it or anyone saw it but me. But the travesty that we saw last time will certainly be true this time too. It is not possible in 21st century Hollywood for the Fantastic Four to all be white. They are. So there you go. and so on and so forth down the line. So I don't have any thoughts on the subject whatsoever. I'm just gonna leave it be. Matthew Alberta, would you recommend Shelby Foote Civil War trilogy? I would indeed. I would indeed. It's very eloquent at points. Very well, very, very good. If you have a very limited amount of reading time, as most people do, if you really need to ration your reading time and you want to read a trilogy on the American Civil War, I would not recommend it because Bruce Catton's trilogy is better and also isn't quite so in love with the Confederacy. but I would still recommend it as reading material, certainly. Tolstoy 111 says, by the way, you've mentioned Donald Keene, so I must recommend his audio commentary for the Criterion edition of Seven Samurai. He knows the film backwards and forwards. Well, the recommendation duly tempted. I will never follow up on it, but it's duly noted. Street Medic. I like most Spielberg films, but he made E.T. and I hate that movie. Yeah, you and me both. Tolstoy 111 responding to Street Medic. Wilson Shugart. What ho, Diomed, well met. The first line too. Anybody? I was thinking of you as I started this stream, my dear, because I read right before I came online, I read that impassioned email of yours defending the existence of the Muse. You're dead wrong. I will have to work out a gentle way to tell you that. Steve Bronstein. Hi, hey Steve, have you heard Douglas Murray talk about the recent war? Hard to avoid hearing him talk about it, right? He has been the #1 book guest. It seems to me that he's going too far and sounding hateful and not just towards jihadi ideology. I always get into trouble when I talk about Douglas Murray. Always. The alt left thinks that if you find anything that he says worthwhile or reasonable, you are a Nazi. And the alt right thinks that if you find anything that he says reasonable, you are alt right. It doesn't seem to be. He seems to be a divining rod figure. I have been very much disturbed First of all, I don't want to call it a war. A war has two sides. I've been very much disturbed by Israel's actions in the last 2 weeks. Uh, and I've also been very much disturbed by the protest against Israel's actions, which to me, in a lot of the alt right, the alt left spokespeople for those defenses, of those protests, seems to be, to me, to be not pro-Palestinian but pro-Hamas. I have never seen the interval shrink faster than the interval in which leftist commentators, especially on YouTube, mentioned that the Hamas attacks of October 7th were terrible. On October 7th and October 8th and October 9th, that interval was 5 minutes. Now it barely exists at all. And I don't think that's a change in viewing. I think that's a revelation of stance. I believe that the kids at Novara Media, that Barnaby Rain, I believe these people think those attacks were justified. They won't say it. They won't say it explicitly. But a lot of the people who love them and watch them and who march with them in London and in New York and on college campuses in UK and in America do say that, are increasingly saying that those attacks were justified. I thought that the minute I saw that interval shrink, when it was 5 minutes of, this is terrible, how horrible, how horrifying for the families involved, etc. You're doing that for 5 minutes. When I saw that shrink to, they were terrible, but, and then you move straight on to the whole half-hour show of Novara Media being about how horrible Israel is. I think if you're shrinking that percentages that fast, it means that what you really believe is that those attacks were justified. And that's monstrous. That's absolutely monstrous. Douglas Murray is going a bit far, but he has fed the alt-right a line of debate that they could never have come up with on their own. They don't have his grasp of history. That is absolutely true. I'm sure you've heard his line of commentary about how when the Nazis committed atrocities against Jews, they were ashamed and tried to hide them. And that Hamas people who were butchering families in kibbutzes before they were driven out were FaceTiming their family. They were showing video. Here, I want to set this up just right, Mom. Watch what I'm about to do to these babies. And that is, Douglas Murray's been pointing out that that's a fundamental conceptual difference. I never miss him. I never miss him when he's on. He doesn't convince me completely, but I worry that this has become an absolute flashpoint of personal fights in addition to political fights or whatnot, because in the 21st century, in 2023, people seem unable to hold two opinions in their head at the same time. There are two opinions to be held at the same time here, at least two. One is that Hamas's attack on Israel on October the 7th was horrifying and very much warranted an incredibly apocalyptic response. When an enemy does this to you, you kill every last person of that enemy. No trials, no ceasefires, no nothing like that. If someone does that to you, you kill them completely. All of them, dead. And indiscriminately bombing cities where you have penned in millions of people is absolutely evil. Those two things are true. And it seems increasingly to me like this debate, if you want to call it that, is boiling down to people trying to figure out a way in which, well, it's the 21st century, it's the social media age. So there can't be points on both sides. I have to pick a tribe and be all for it. And that, either way you do that, involves monstrosity. I'm 100% in favor if Harvard students sign a letter endorsing the actions of Hamas, saying that the butchering of little children on October 7th was totally justified as a strike against colonialism. I am totally on board those students having their names revealed to prospective employers. They all backed away. The minute that threat was floated, they all backed away and started crying and whining and whatnot. It doesn't matter. They should be unemployable. There is no justification for burning babies. But anyway, sorry. That was a long digression. Well, let's go back to the chat here. Sorry, that it's an explosive subject, of course. I would in a normal circumstance, I would I would make videos about it if I hadn't started a booktube channel, if I'd done, the usual and started a commentary channel, well then it would be my bread and butter all week. I firmly believe that such a commentary channel is kind of needed. The commentary channels tend to fall for the lure of picking sides, of being tribes. Uh, anyway, let's see here. Street Medic, Matthew Alberto. I have Shelby Foots. Oh, you're talking to Matthew. Okay. Uh, Gandhi Angles. I just found a copy of An Unfinished Life on John Kennedy, Robert Dallek. Do you recommend? I do. I do recommend it. It's not. It's not all that good. He can do better work. His book on FDR is great. Monet Doyle. I have been reading Christmas books. Well, 'tis the season. Soon Thanksgiving will be a distant memory. It's next week. And in America, oh my God, a gigantic storm is brewing for half of America on the day before Thanksgiving. It will, if it happens the way some of the models are showing it to be, it will be a disaster. It will be just a disaster for travel, for safety, power outages. We shall see. Even Boston might get really cold weather, lots of rain, possibly even snow. I think Mark Richardson up in Vermont will get snow, and Deb up in Maine certainly will. Uh, all mirth. So sad to hear about A.S. Byatt, one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, a truly serious writer writing truly serious books and also criticism. Her nonfiction is terrific. Passions of the Mind is an amazing book. Uh, but the fiction, I go on this channel all the time. I joke all the time about the stupid made up stories. I'm going to move this person here and then I'm going to have them do this for no good reason. I'm not going to check my own previous drafts. She was a serious writer, writing serious books. And for some reason, I know you could say the same thing about Iris Murdoch, but for some reason, I got it with A.S. Byatt all along, and I never did with Iris Murdoch. I'm gonna have to get it with Iris Murdoch now, 75 years after she died or whatever. Uh, the left-handed reader, Steve, sorry, I meant the ones you're talking about ordering. That one is going strong for me. Oh, is this referring to tripods? Well, that's good to know, because this thing isn't at all. I had one of these that did work just fine until I snapped a leg off. That should have, excuse me, that should have been a warning to me right there. If I could snap a leg off one of these things. Typically speaking, I hate to say this because it sounds so late stage capitalism, but nevertheless, typically speaking, you get what you pay for. I've learned this the hard way so many times. You'd think I'd pay attention, but I think I will just shell out the extra $20 for a better tripod, a really good tripod, and a tripod that won't need anything else. It won't need a stack of books to stabilize it, or a stool for it to go on, or anything like that. I mean, I always say that I don't want to spend money on BookTube, but $35 in 7 years, it's not that bad. Street Medic is responding to Tolstoy 111. Jenny Parks, I jealous your reading hours is the same as my working hours. Once upon a time, I worked 8 hours a day at retail. I can't really wring my hands too much because we had a blast. For those years, I mostly had a blast. It certainly wasn't slavery at all. It wasn't wage slavery in the slightest. I loved it, but I don't think I'd go back. I was talking with, who was it that I was talking with? Oh, I can't remember who it was. Someone was emailing me, or maybe Voxer, and he was showing, one of you was showing me pictures of the books at your local Walmart, the book selections at your local Walmart, or maybe your local Ollie's. I want all of you to do that. I hope you know that. I know that I say this all the time, but you probably are so used to other social media people who say it, but most certainly don't mean it, that when I say it, you don't think I mean it. But I want pictures of your life. Send me pictures of your dogs. Send me pictures of the books at your store, at wherever you go. I want those pictures. But one of you did do that. And it was, oh, no, it was Walmart. It was at Walmart. And in the background of one of the pictures was a Walmart greeter. I guess Walmart has a program where they get genial older people to put on the Walmart smock and stand at the doorway greeting people. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the store. So good to see you. They get to know the regulars. How good to have you back. How are the kids doing? And they're also there as, a guide, a bit of a guide. It's a big, sprawling place. If you need any help, what's on special, what things are for sale, you really should know about it. Where is such a thing? And I was looking at that and I was thinking, I know this is going to sound really dorky, but I was thinking I would love to do that job. I know that a Walmart greeter has become a kind of a punchline in America because we're a vicious country. When people say, when they want to come up with an example of a kind of work that literally anyone can do, they mention either flipping burgers or being a Walmart greeter. Actually, both of those are hard to do, but I don't care. Of course, I don't care what other people think about that sort of thing. I would love to do that. It's just there's no Walmart near here, and I don't know that they'd accept me. Uh, anyway, uh, let's see here. Oh, right, Colombian Thunder. I like Pedro Pascal, but even racial casting aside, I just don't see him as Reed Richards character wise. He can do a lot, so he might be convincing as Reed Richards. I definitely. It bothers me that the racial element was involved. That's true. He's a hot actor, but in a hot property in Hollywood, but you still know that it was. So I honestly don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, Tony Stark holding up his fingers and saying, "I am Iron Man." As far as I'm concerned, that ended the Marvel universe. So that's all I need to care about. That was done. That was all done perfectly, and there, I'm done. But anyway, Anti Gaia, the specter of full-on fascism haunting me notwithstanding. Currently, I'm enjoying my first read of Isaacson's Steve Jobs bio. Yeah, the Steve Jobs thing is good. Yeah, try not to think about full-on fascism. When you think about it, you're not really all that involved. I mean, you could, I guess, bus out with volunteers to knock on doors in swing states. Since I'm obviously not going to do that, and since I live in a free state, there's literally nothing I can do except watch it happen and be angry at the mainstream media that could prevent it. The mainstream media could prevent it, and they're not going to do that. Plain and simple. They're the first ones on buses to those camps. And Donald Trump has said that for 9 years now. I don't know what they think is going to happen. You've never seen anyone more complacent in your life than someone like Jake Tapper. He is 100% sure that a fascist takeover of this country is impossible, that his comfortable life will always be comfortable, and he will be able to comment on the vicissitudes of the political right and left. He is 100% complacently sure of that. anyway, NP Hunt. I've always much happier when I avoid the news. I feel like everybody has a duty to stay at least a little bit informed. Striking that balance is really difficult. Exactly what I think. That's exactly what I think. I feel that it is your duty. That is a good word. It is your duty to know about your own times. But if you striking the balance is all important. If you don't strike that balance, then you can't do anything about it. So if you don't strike the balance, it will ruin your day. And we don't know how many days we have left. Jenny Parks, despite the casting choices, I am still a little excited for the new Percy Jackson show. Disney is making it so I'll have to dial back my expectations. I would if I were you. Disney is the most intellectually captured of them all, of any Hollywood entity. They are the most ideologically captured, which is easily evidenced by the fact that in the last 5 years, because of DEI choices, Disney has lost upwards of $1 trillion. $1 trillion. If a company is not going to fire everybody with a blue check mark next to their name and change their ways when they lose billions of dollars, then they're never going to change their ways. So I wouldn't get excited for Percy Jackson. You know already what it's going to be. You know already what it's going to do. It's going to preach at you. But anyway, Kevin J. N. Steve, are there any really good doorstopper size espionage novels? Yes, there is. The Company by Robert Littell. Is that right? I've got my phone right here. I always say that I can't go online because I'll bump myself out of the stream. Then I realize, well, you've got your phone, right? Then you can always check that. Is that what it is? It's 1,000 pages long. Of course, then I have to do the typing on the stream, and that's rude. It's called The Company, and it's the author's last name is Littell. Let's see if I can do this without being too rude, and maybe the phone will fill things in. Yes, okay. Robert Littell, The Company. It's big and it's really, really good. I doubt that you will want it to be any shorter. I'm pretty sure that you will really enjoy it. Oh, that was nice and convenient, wasn't it? Creekhead or Crackhead. Does anyone have suggestions for sharp? Oh, you're asking other people. Okay. The Spaminator. Blah, did someone call for abs? No, no, they didn't. Max, speaking of abs, why are you so opposed to anaerobic exercise? I'm not opposed to anaerobic exercise, and I think you know that. Anti-Gaia, arguably by Hitchens, has some really good lit criticism. I think that's where his Wolf Hall review is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, some of his lit criticism, when he's not phoning it in, oh my God, you can tell right away if he's phoning in a book review. And if he's doing that, it's because he was hungover. Writing and alcohol do not go together. But when he's not doing that, when you can tell right away, you can tell in the first 10 paragraphs if he's doing that. And when he's not, it's wonderful. And his Wolf Hall review is in there. Yeah. Street Medic, yesterday was my birthday, and she just now gave me a present, which, by the way, are three MMP Poirot paperbacks in mint condition. Very nice. Julie Martin, I agree with what you said about Bruce Catton. I read in high school and then went back and reread them a couple of years ago. They're still satisfying. Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. Jenny Parks is responding to Street Medic. The Spaminator, what really disturbs me is all the protesters who will not simply denounce acts of terror. Why not? What possible reason could there be other than because you support terror? Ultimately, it's because they have dodgy relationships with their parents, especially their fathers. But it ultimately boils down to that. This is a thumb in the eye of your parents for the young people who are out there in their multiple thousands. But any cause, any port in a storm, right? Any opportunity that you can get to run with a furious, murderous look on your face straight at the car of Sir Keir Starmer, and your alt left followers will never ask what you intend to do if you reach that car. They won't ask you that, uh, and you won't say that. It's all just implied. The cameras are rolling, everyone's going to see it, that if you caught him outside of his car without a security detail, you would kill him. So you don't have to say it. If you say it, you'll be in legal trouble. But as long as it's visible, then your alt left friends will know it. Anyway, Colo 1546. Hi, Steve. I'm tired of trying to get my friends to condemn Hamas. It's amazing how difficult it is for some people. I think they equate it to being 100% pro Israel. I know. It's what I was talking about a little earlier. We're not even talking about nuance here. We're just talking about adult thinking. Adult thinking says A and B and C are all true. A and B and C can all be true. You don't have to block off B and C because you want to believe A. They can all be true. And that seems to be gone. That the ability to do that seems to be gone. Uh, and so thousands of alt right, of alt left protesters, young people, teenagers and early 20s, thronging the streets of London. And when you ask them in the crowd, of course, their Novara media defenders will say not, but there have been a million spur of the moment street interviews of these people. It doesn't have to be just your picked interviewer that does it. There have been a million interviews of these people, and all of them, almost all of them, statistically 100% of them, are in fact supporting Hamas. They're not supporting Palestine. They're supporting Hamas, whose stated goal is to eliminate all Jews from the world. I get a little bit tired of people like Barnaby Rain saying, "Well, I'm a Jew, so if you accuse me of anti-Semitism, you're being anti-Semitic." You could be a useful idiot as well. You know, there are other things you could be. Uh, anyway, Street Medic and Jenny Parks are flirting with each other. Mac, yes, it infuriates me that so many of the pro-Palestine people, especially on college campuses, either turn a blind eye or defend Hamas. Watch their GoPros, and it just makes me so angry. Yeah, you watch their GoPros, and so do I. There's endless numbers. There's endless amounts of footage. It's only when you watch the alt left media that you will not see their GoPros because they are trying to say, Owen Jones is trying to say, these crusty old BBC presenters who all remind me of my father are mischaracterizing these protests. They are most certainly not mischaracterizing. These are pro Hamas. Most of them are pro Hamas people that are out there. And if you are pro Hamas, you are pro the elimination of all Jews on earth. There's no way for you to be, free Palestine equals reproductive rights. There's no way for you to be queers for Palestine. There's no way for you to be that. If you support a murderous terrorist group that uses hospitals as shields, if you run a whole half-hour show like Novara Media did, trying to debunk the claim that Hamas uses civilians as shields when there's plenty of footage and their own admission. You are complicit. If you do that, you are complicit, at the very least. But anyway, Jenny Parks, thanks. It's on Monday. I feel old and creaky. I don't know what that means. Tolstoy 111 is responding to Street Medic. Deborah McDonald, Possession is one of my favorite books. Me too. Me too. But we have the book, right? ASBI would have been the first one to jump forward and say, I appreciate the good works, the good words, but I left a part of me behind, the best part of me behind. So you have that, and you always will. All the more reason why you should all be writing. Hmm? Where would you be? What would you be thinking right now if A.S. Byatt had said in her early 20s, yeah, I just don't have a lot of time? Aren't you glad she found the time? Uh, Street Medics is still responding to Jenny Parks. Michael Lombardo, are we talking JFK? Hulu and Paramount Plus have new documentaries this month for the 60th anniversary. We weren't talking JFK, no. But I think somebody sent me a message. Maybe it was you. Sent me a message about one of those documentaries, what the doctors saw, something like that. Grix is here. Hi, Steve. What do you think of people that are out of complete disbelief in the possibility of political change or social conciliation decide not to watch the news at all? Well, we were saying this earlier, I understand that as a reaction, but you have a moral duty to know about your own times. Instead of just, digging yourself into a little hole in the ground and being nice and content until your times come knocking on your door. You really do have an obligation to know about these things. This is the only time you're going to be on Earth. It's just the point was made earlier that the really important thing is to strike the right balance, strike a really good balance. Jenny Parks is responding to Street Medics. Street Medics is responding to Tolstoy 111. Fit to be read. I have friends that sense me voters all the time when they are at used bookstores asking what to get. I love it. Oh, Voxer. Okay. Yeah, I don't have as many of those as I would like. I would very much like that. Street Medics is responding to Jenny Park. Mac, I was texting with a coworker that sent me a meme implying Israel deserved it. She's Gen Z and a friend, but I was so pissed. Yes, Gen Z is the one to look out for. I had no idea what rotten shape they were in. No idea at all until I saw the virality of them quoting and quoting and quoting and reposting a manifesto by Osama bin Laden. And quite a few of them saying they agree with him on a whole bunch of points. How we got from Israel bombarding Gaza to that, I have no idea. Now that's now viral. Osama bin Laden is now viral. And I think what's going to come of this, I think this is going to get Donald Trump into office. And it's just a thumb in the eye to dad. It's just going to be a thumb in the eye to dad. I don't have, of course, I don't have any access to these thousands and thousands and thousands of Gen Zers. But I want to tell them, the old saying, if you play with fire, you'll get burned. That's a true saying. That's why it's old. That's why it stood the test of time. You will not want to live under a fascist dictatorship, even though you get a thumb in the eye of dad. You will not want the result of what you do. And there won't be any changing it. So, but it's infuriating. Let's see here. Tolstoy 111. I finally started Vanity Fair. Is it fair to call it gossip raised to high art? It's delightful. Not all of it is that. It has its tragic moments in the final third, but it's not just gossip, but it is delightful. I hope you're enjoying it. Michael Lombardo. Oh, on my last Walmart trip, I saw a guy with a Steve name tag. I'm still on the lookout for a Walmart vest just laying around to send. You don't have to steal a vest. I don't want a vest. I want the job. I just wish there were a Walmart near me. I would go and apply. I honestly would. But everything needs a car. And the places that have Walmarts don't have public transportation, any good public transportation. In an ideal world, there would be one just on the high street, and I would do that. Maybe 30 hours, 20 hours a week, something like that. I bet that it would never get old. I bet I would love it. Let's see here. Jenny Parks, do you think the problem with Gen Z is because they have no real knowledge or memories of times like 9/11? Yes, that's exactly it. No, they have no knowledge or memory at all. I was talking about this on the live stream today. I was watching, I follow a bunch of educators on Twitter, and one of them just got a job in a college and reported just today, this morning, the number one thing he is realizing, which is that for his undergraduate students, everything, literally everything, is TikTok. They don't know anything about the world other than TikTok. They don't know any history, no art, no theory, no nothing, just TikTok. He might have been exaggerating, but I think he's largely right. Uh, Grix, I should have sent you a picture of the book I found today in a random book market, A Distant Mirror. Looks like I'll have to go back to your first read along. People should send me pictures of the books they find everywhere. I want to see all of it. You all have cameras in your pocket at all times. So you should be bombarding me with pictures. Stephen Bronstein, the voices that I've found to be even handed on Israel recently have been Ian Bremmer and Tom Friedman. Thoughts? Who are to be trusted voices on this for you? Well, there are a lot of good voices. I don't know Ian Bremmer. Tom Friedman, I've heard a couple of times. There are a lot of good voices. There are people out there who are saying, look, A and B and C can all be wrong at the same time. You don't have to say that A is the only thing that's wrong and that B and C are nothing or are justified. You don't have to do that. Um, it's just they don't seem to be. They certainly aren't informing the kids who are filling the streets of London. Uh, Stephen Bronstein, also, Piers Morgan has really turned the conflict into a real cash cow for himself. He has. He won't leave it alone. He does lots and lots of programming, but I honestly, I don't talk about devil's advocate here, literally. But when he says that he has been on a journey on this subject, he says this repeatedly on the show. He says, I've been on a journey to try to understand this subject. When he says that, I actually believe him. He has no corporate media ties anymore that would make him say anything. He's free to say what he wants and book who he wants and ask them what he wants. So I actually do believe that. I don't find his coverage as loathsome as I was expecting to find it. Certainly, I haven't seen any tub thumping, unless I'm not watching enough of him. Maybe you've seen something I haven't. All mirth. I plan to read more Murdoch in conjunction with Byatt's Degrees of Freedom. Uh, yes, yes. I don't think I want to do a systematic reread of A.S. Byatt. I've been a pretty close observer of hers for the whole of her career. Pretty eagerly and seriously lapped up all of the fiction and all of the nonfiction. So I probably won't do that. But the news of her death actually paradoxically did make me want to do much more. I am already planning a systematic reread of Iris Murdoch, uh, and that just made me want to do it more. Uh, a street medic, white counterpart is no idea what that means. Joshua Crabo, hopefully the Percy Jackson TV series will be at least a little better and more faithful to novels than the movies were. It will not be. It's made by Disney. I don't know how many times people need to go through this. I really don't. It's kind of astonishing to me. Maybe it has to do with things like Andor, which was really good, but those are unicorns. Disney products are ideologically captured. They are meant to make ideological statements and lecture you as a viewer. They are not meant to be faithful to the original material of anything, and they are not meant to be enjoyable. They're meant to lecture you. Your grandparents were terrible people. That's what they want to tell you over and over again. So I don't know. Is Percy Jackson race swapped? Is he gender swapped? I have no idea. I know nothing about it. Uh, I'm just again, it's going to be something I'm just going to have to tactically ignore. Uh, Columbian Thunder. Honestly, the fact Disney fired the entire Daredevil Born Again team. Oh, that sounded so good. Where did you go? The comment bounced while I was touching it. That's not supposed to happen. Let's. Oh, there we go. And our restarting production is potentially, probably not a good sign. You people are all true believers. I honestly don't understand it. Disney is lost. They are completely lost. They are completely lost. All of their opera executives, the ones who make the calls for all of this stuff, are religious zealots. They are not going to stop. They need to be fired, and no one's been fired. So, no matter what the alt right, clickbait channels on YouTube say, no one's been fired. So, it isn't a good sign. It's a very bad sign. Omid Fazeli, the role Iran plays in the recent conflict has been largely downplayed. As an Iranian, I need to say that what Iranian people believe in and what the government does are in stark contrast. Oh my God. Oh my God. I am sincerely hoping that the whole world knows that. I'm sincerely hoping that they are. I've traveled in Iran quite a lot, and Oh my God. I aside from maybe Russia, I have never seen a greater contrast between what the government does and what the people are like. And Iran is a young country too, dramatically so. It it kind of makes me impatient. I realize the government has all the guns, but it kind of makes me impatient for a change. I don't know how it could come about. It's not a representative government in the way that you could actually grassroots a change, but it bothers. I know. I realize that's what repressive regimes are like. This country is headed into one, so I'm going to have to know all about that all over again. It's frustrating because if the people of Iran ran the country according to the ways they want to do, everything would be different. You could legitimately say that almost everything in the world would be different. Certainly, everything in the region would be different. I oh my god, Omid, I sympathize with you so much on that subject. I heard about it endlessly when I was traveling in your country, and it's absolutely true. So, oh my god, I sympathize completely. Oh, Riches and Reads is back. I thought you drifted off to sleep. Hey, Steve, I pulled out my old copy of A Man Called Intrepid because you brought it to mind. Love that book. Yeah, yeah. I loved it too. It is fantastic. I did not remember what a great reading experience it is, but I don't want this big bland trade paperback. I want the mass market that you remember, the one that I remember, the one that I had. I don't know why I grabbed it. I want that mass market paperback. If I can't have it as an ebook, then I want that mass market paperback, no matter how tiny the print is. So the, this this trade paper of A Man Called Intrepid will just have to be a placeholder until I find that mass market. Colombian Thunder, nuance in online political discussion almost no longer exists. You said it. You said it. I watch a huge amount of it on the alt left and the alt right. I guess you could say I just hate watching because it's all so tribal. It's conversations like this with friends of mine, with us, where we're saying, well, there's this and there's also that, and what about this factor, and we're all friends and we all want the world to be nice and people to be good and people to be safe. No tribalism, in other words. This is drastically the exception. Everywhere you go online, you're getting one team or another. It was just, I agree. It seems no longer to exist. Uh, God, I miss Tim Russert. I miss him so much. The Spaminator, adult thinking, Steve, that doesn't exist anymore. You know that. And this is me talking for spam's sake. Yes, I know. I know. If you're saying that, we're all in trouble. Stephen Bronstein, are your thoughts about Douglas Murray regarding matters jihad similar to Sam Harris when it comes to this topic? I doubt it very much. I tend not to align with anything Sam Harris thinks anymore. Some of his basic points about the difference between Israel and Hamas, I agree with completely. And I think the reason why the alt left is so foaming at the mouth, furious with Douglas Murray these days, is because all he's doing is repeating that. He's repeating that one side of this conflict is different from the other, regardless of the fact that the other side has all the military might and is killing thousands of civilians. I don't think Douglas Murray. I don't. I get in trouble when I talk about Douglas Murray, but I don't think he is going far enough at all lately, this week, say, to acknowledge the mind staggering extent of the evil that Israel is currently doing. I don't think he's going far enough to acknowledge that. I understand why he's not, because he can't stand the moral absolutism and the bratty contrarianism of the other side. But that's no reason for an intelligent person to be driven to mindless tub thumping, to mindless jingoism. I think I anyway, sorry. Oh, let's see here. Ed Wiley. A lot of people reach their moral positions through sheer happenstance. Even people who are often in the right. Once faced with a genuine dilemma, you see how shallow their moral literacy really is. Moral literacy. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Since October 7th. Can you believe it's been over a month? God almighty. Imagine. ah, I just keep thinking about my demographic, not my demographic, but the demographic that I love. I keep thinking about teenage boys between the ages of 18 and 25. I think about one of those boys who thought, it's a long bus ride, but the end of that bus ride is the university. And I've been accepted. I worked hard to be accepted. and that university is accredited. I will go, I will study as hard as I can, I will learn about the outside world, I will learn about my subjects, and I will use that degree to get out of here and help here, help my family, help the world to understand, help to change the situation. And the buses have been blown up, the streets have been blown up, the university has been destroyed, his apartment building has been destroyed, and he, if he's still alive, has now been shunted south 4 different times. Each time the Israeli government saying, move south to here, and then bombing that place. So he's had to go that whole time, and who knows how many people he knows are dead. But it doesn't matter anyway because his dreams are dead. That university is gone. It's a pile of rubble. Anyway, anyway, moral literacy. The one kind of bad literacy, the one kind of literacy that hurts more than helps. Steve, do you have any recommendations on finding Erasmus in English, especially his Adagia, or am I going to have to spend to get better at reading Latin and Greek? I am amazed that there is no popular edition of the Adagia or the Familiar Colloquies. Erasmus had two bestsellers in his life. The Adagia made him a huge amount of money, and so did the Familiar Colloquies. And there has not been a popular edition of those since the 19th century. Just skip the 20th century completely. I don't think there's a popular edition in the works now at all, and they are very good to read. I myself prefer his biblical commentary, but the Adagia, I don't know of an example, unless it'll be pricey. But the University of Toronto is doing, I think they are done with gigantic complete works of Erasmus. And I think one version of the Adagia, maybe the first edition, he kept enlarging both the Adagia and the Colloquies as time went on. He kept making them bigger. I think one edition of the Adagia is just one volume in that University of Toronto series, but they're enormously expensive. Big, enormous hardcovers. A popular edition? You'll find little examples here and there. There was a book about 40 years ago called The Erasmus Reader. It has a few examples, but nothing compared to the whole. Excuse me. So I wish I could help you, but I can't. There isn't, as far as I know, such things don't exist, and they should. The Familiar Colloquies would make entertaining reading even today if you found a spirited translator. I'd be happy to do it myself if somebody would dangle a little money in front of me. Street Medic, thanks, Steve. You had to go and say I'm flirting with Jenny Parks and my wife is sitting right next to me. Eh. I doubt she thinks you're enough to be jealous about. It's your own fault for letting the women folk sit down. Why isn't she working? Tell her to go make you a sandwich. The only reason that I'm saying this is because I'm not close enough for her to belt me. Tolstoy 111. Gen Z is the first generation to have been the subject of Paul Freire style critical pedagogy from K-12. Yes. Don't think that reality is not lost on a lot of people. There are all sorts of other factors involved. Of course, Gen Z is looking at a cratered future. That can't be easy. No one can buy a house. No one can afford to have children, and no one's going to have a world to live on. The environment is going to collapse. That can't be easy. But in addition to that, yes, they have been raised in critical pedagogy. This is the first generation that has been. So we're going to reap any kind of data about what the long-term effects of that raising are. We're going to reap that data from this generation. Grix's generation. If you think that readers have a moral duty to write, don't you think that writers have a moral duty not to publish a bad book? No. They have a duty to publish what their dream is, to publish what they need to write. There's already so many of them. No. In on this point, as on so many points, you're dead wrong. No. You say there are so many of them. What do you mean by them? How many books written by you are published? I seem to think none. Is that true? There are none. If you published 4, there would still be only 4. Is 4 a large number? No, it's not. That's all you have to think about. You don't have to think about anything else that's on the library. It's on the shelves in bookstores. That's all you have to think about is you. For your generation, it should be very easy to think about you and no one else but you. Because the one reader down the line, 30 years from now, 300 years from now, 3,000 years from now, who wants that one voice, doesn't quite know what he wants, but he'll know it when he finds it. That's going to be you. It's not going to be 40 books. It's going to be you. Same as you have that voice. Same as I have that voice. If you aren't that voice, if you don't do it, well, then that person will never experience that. But anyway, Gola Moody, yes, people, do yourself a favor and write. Don't worry about how good or original you are. Do it for yourself. It can be a slow start, but once you get going, it's super fun. Well, that is the ultimate recommendation. I always talk about people have the moral duty to write, and they do. But I try always to add the point that the number one recommendation for this process is that it's unbelievable amounts of fun. Once it gets going, you can't expect, I know Gen Z can, but you can't expect it to be perfect when you start. You have to learn how to do it. But once you do, oh my God, the reward is just unbelievable. Jenny Parks, nothing wrong with celebrating being born in the month of that produces the most serial kill. Oh, you're talking to Street Medic. And he's talking to you. Uh, he's still talking to you. Colombian Thunder, being Gen. Oh, no, wait, I lost you, but you said you were Gen Z, so I want to know if you're mad at me. I am, I think, making informed generalizations about your demographic, but maybe not. Uh, let's find you. Where were you? There you go. I see the way people in my groups grew up in the influence of the internet. It's like one big algorithmically curated propaganda machine for us. Can't even talk about it. Well, you would, yeah. Like I said, this is the first time that we're going to see what that's like, what this generation is like. A year ago, all of the pundits, the political pundits in America, were saying Gen Z will save us. They will vote for Joe Biden. They will stave off fascism in this country. Uh, Now they're not saying that anymore, and I think they're right not to say it anymore. Kevin O'Connell, Steve, will you be seeing the new Hunger Games film? I enjoyed the book. I think I have the screener. I'm so behind on screeners that I haven't watched anything in so long. Oh my God, in so long. What was the last one that I watched? I want to say it was a Killer Shark movie, wasn't it? Wasn't it a Killer Shark movie? It was really bad. It was really, really bad. I honestly don't remember. That which is a sign enough of what I'm talking about. Every time I do it, I think I should read instead. And reading, I know I will enjoy. Um, let's see here. Colombian Thunder, sounding like I'm some sort of man yelling at clouds or something. No, no, you're not. Jenny Parks, I noticed Grover, Annabeth, Zeus, and Chiron are all definitely race swapped so far. I didn't notice if any others were. Well, what more do you need to see than that? That's four. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They're race swapping beings that are mythological. I don't I think you should just let go of hoping for Disney. I think instead you should just say, if Disney's producing it, I probably shouldn't waste my time. If 80 million people did that, Disney would stop doing this. I don't know how they're still in business. They're losing money hand over fist. And every quarter. Every quarter is not just a little bit less, it's straight down. But they are converted. They are religious zealots. And I guess that means they'll tank the company for it. We've seen already the extent to which extremist ideology, people who are in the grip of extremist ideology, are willing to tank profitable companies. Elon Musk is going to drive Twitter into the ground because he can't let go of his bigotries. He can't even step aside from them and let someone else run it back to parody. Anyway, let's see here. Aiden, did anyone get the hardcover Mandelbaum set? Well, I don't know. Well, I put it online. That's the most that I can do. What do I do? Cold call people? I saw, if you don't know what he's talking about, I saw the Alan Mandelbaum Dante. 3 volumes. They're oversized. They're hardcover. They have the dust jackets. They have beautiful Barry Moser illustrations all throughout. Tons of notes. It's an amazing hardcover set of Dante. Just amazing. And it was just right there at the Brattle. It was on the pricing cart, ready to go out. It's probably up in the medieval history section right now. I didn't check the prices. It's probably $15 a volume, but that's probably cheaper than you would find that set online, and it's in perfect condition. Absolutely perfect condition. So I saw it and thought, somebody should get this. Somebody should call the shop today and get, well, not right now because they're closed, but tomorrow, somebody should call and get this. It's an incredible Dante set to have. but I have no idea if anybody did. Wilson's back. I just discovered that Edward Bulwer Lytton wrote a lot of poetry, and it does not disappoint. No, no, it does not disappoint. Of course, that's a loaded question. It's a loaded comment in this circumstance. But you notice that you and I are in this case alone. No one in the chat knew that that was the first line to the last days of Pompeii. It'll be our little secret, my little daffodil. Street medic, I'm going to get the quote wrong, but it is the mark of a mature mind that one can entertain an argument without accepting it, or something like that. Well, good luck. You're right, but good luck. Stephen Bronstein, you recommended Elon Pape's books, and he was on the Majority Report a few times recently. He is not weird like Finkelstein. No, he's not. But he places a lot of blame on Israel. Can't ignore that side either. No, Israel deserves a lot of blame. A lot of blame. In the long term, there's a long-term story and a short-term story here. The short-term story is the October 7th attacks, the details of which would drive a saint to bloodlust. If that happened to an American community, the entire hemisphere of the home country where it originated would be gone by now. it's this we were spared. America was spared those kind of barbaric details because we will never know exactly what happened in those hijacked planes before they hit their targets. We'll never know that. I guess we'll never know that. I'm pretty sure that the black boxes recording a lot survived and that the government confiscated them and has never made their contents public. But we'll never know that. Even if we did, we're talking an hour and a half at the most, not a day of barbarity, concentrated barbarity, imaginative barbarity. The details. Douglas Murray saw the unedited video footage of so far that has been collated of what the Hamas attackers did in the cities and kibbutzes that they attacked. And I've seen that footage too. And it's mind staggering. That's a short story. The short focus story is that. That happened to Israel, and Israel has responded apocalyptically. The long-term story, Israel's behavior towards the Palestinians in its territory has been horrifying for a long time. The one does not justify the other, but yeah, it's good, definitely, that a rational person is on air reminding people of that this isn't happening in a vacuum. Although Hamas's stated purpose is to eliminate all Jews from the world, not just Israel and not just the Middle East, but the world. So technically, the attacks they carried out on October 7th could have happened anytime, which kind of absolves Israel a bit of long-term provocation. It's part of their belief system anyway. They would do this same thing to a community of Jews in Paramus, New Jersey. But anyway, we're talking all these grim subjects, and yet this is pleasing me because even the grim subjects are being talked about. I'm talking about them with reasonable adults. That is wonderful. That is happening. That is cheering me up, even though they're grim subjects. Aiden, I wish that you could have a YouTube had a YouTube to live stream on during the 9/11 era. Well, the besetting temptation then, as I still feel the temptation today sometimes, is to make a channel devoted to political commentary. I would have done it then, could have done it now. I'm not going to do it though. Books are so much better to talk about. Gola Muad'Dib, I saw Netflix is doing Chichin Lee's Three Body Problem. What do you think of the book? I haven't read it yet. I like the book. I like the second book a lot more. And also the third book. I'm pretty sure I like the third book more than I like the first book too. The Three Body Problem is the one that everybody knows. But I really think that series gets better as it goes along. I shudder to think what Netflix will do with it. I shudder to think. I won't watch it, of course. Steve Bronstein, sorry for all the fraught questions today. Hope I don't get you in trouble. No, we're fine. Nobody pays attention to this. Brycey's 1000, beautiful job. The bean is more revealed. Or are you talking about Frida? Yes, I trimmed her. There's a little more trimming that I could do, but I'm not going to do. She really hated that we did a long trim session. It was like 20 minutes long, and she hates it. She hated it so much that I'm kind of going to lay off. I'll do another session in a week or so. There are some areas that I missed, just little bits and tufts here and there, but I'm just going to let it go. Fit to be read. The sequels to Three Body better than the original for me. Oh yeah, okay, me too. Death's End is ridiculously amazing in terms of ideas. Just no possible way for them to capture that on screen, in my opinion. We'll see. I agree with you. Street Medic. Erasmus was friends with Rabelais, and Rabelais is included in the great books of the Western world, and Erasmus isn't, which I think is completely backwards. The great books of the Western world. Ryan says, "Steve, hope this chat is cheering you up." It is actually cheering me up, even though we have not shied away from grim subjects. It is cheering me up, and I think the reason why is because you're all real people. Well, I look at the chats of alt right channels or alt left channels. They've got 5,000 people in the chat, but they're all lunatics. uh, Still wondering your thoughts on Alan First and if you found him worth reading during Dr. November. I've only done one, uh, a reread of one, Alan First, and it, I will keep trying with Alan First. He's I'm kind of hanging hanging hopes now on him and what's his name, Ross Thomas. I'm hanging my hopes on them because Len Dayton and Frederick Forsyth are not doing it. Not after all this Le Carre. Le Carre is just so good. I reread Darkstar and it seemed it seemed a lot less than I remember it. I don't know if that maybe it's just that because of Dr. November, I'm just in the mood for Le Carre. Maybe that's the case. I'm going to keep trying. The month is only halfway over, so I've got a lot more reading to do. But so far, the effect is twofold. I'm really appreciating the artistry that Le Carre brings to his books. It's more than I thought, and I had a pretty high opinion of it to start with. And I'm really noticing the defects of his so-called competitors. I really am. So I don't know. One of you, nobody in this chat, I don't think, but one person emailed me and said, I'm a little sorry to hear that Frederick Forsyth and Ken Follett and Len Dayton are not working for you. Maybe to compensate, you could reread a lot of espionage fiction from earlier from earlier than Le Carre, before him. And I reread Mr. Standfast by John Buchan, and it was terrific, absolutely terrific. So maybe there's something to that. Maybe I should go at Graham Greene and Somerset Maugham. Maybe that's what I should do to flesh out a part of the rest of the month. Michael Lombardo, I think reality shows, Super Bowls, March Madness, etc., have turned politics into just another competition. I would hate to think you're right, but I bet you are. Omid retracted a message. Oh, I hope I didn't offend. I don't know. There's no way I could have offended. I love your country. There's no way I could have offended. Emma Miles is here. Are any of Sarah J. Maas's books worth the time? I've been influenced into starting A Court of Thorns and Roses. The really big new ones that she's doing are, I think, better. They're a little bit less dumb than A Court of Thorns and Roses, but it's also dumb. Oh my God, it's just, there's no other word for it. It's just dumb. I mean, if you're reading it for relief, for candy, sure. But if you need relief, if you need candy, that sort of thing, there are so many things I could recommend that aren't dumb. This is just, it's these are books very much written for 14-year-olds. It really shows. It often seems written by a 14-year-old. I don't think there's any justification for reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I really don't. Stephen Bronstein, someone on CNN said Trump has now come to the realization the only way to avoid prison at this point is to win the presidency. Well, it's where Israel's one thing, Trump's another thing for a subject matter. I don't see how that works. It's not the presidency. I've seen pundits say that, and it isn't true. The presidency does not save you from a felony conviction, much less 90 felony convictions. The thing that would save him is not the presidency; it's something else that he would acquire in November. It's something else that he would get. It's another job. The presidency would not exist anymore. The thing that he would acquire by, I guess, winning. I don't know what that winning would be. Holding guns at people who are trying to vote Democratic, maybe. if he resumes power, let's just call it that, regardless of what form or shape or name that power has. If he resumes power, the idea behind that formulation that the only way he avoids prison is to retake the presidency. It's not the presidency because the president can still be put in jail if he's guilty of felonies. If he's guilty of treason, he can be put in jail. No, the real decoding of that formulation is that the job that he will take will be one in which he can invalidate the law, and that is true. That is absolutely true. It's not that he needs to win the presidency in order to avoid prison. It's that he needs to change America in order to avoid prison. And he knows that, but he's wanted to change. Stephen Miller has wanted to change America all along. Uh, it certainly looks, I mean, I know that doesn't mean anything, but it certainly looks like he's going to be convicted on felony counts in the next year. And that typically means you go to jail. It's very seldom. I've almost never heard that that doesn't happen, that you're guilty of a felony and you're allowed to run free. Maybe different with white collar crime. It shouldn't be different with treason. He stole incredibly classified sensitive material from government archives, in other words, the White House, and sold it to the highest bidder on the international market. He sold Israel's nuclear profile to Iran for $2 million. He sold it to the Saudis for $2 million. He's still selling it. He's still fencing that material. He hasn't given all of it to federal investigators. He is a gigantic traitor, the biggest one this country has ever had. That should land him in jail at least. I would say up against a wall. But if we don't do that, well, in jail at least. And I mean, the law has its own gears and wheels. If you get convicted, the law takes it from there. So it's not the presidency that will save him; it's something else. But he knows that. That's the job he's going for. Is the other thing. He doesn't care about the presidency. He doesn't believe in democratic elections. He's said that endlessly. So, but anyway, and Jenny Parks is responding to Emma. The street medic says, Steve, I have nothing but females in my house, so being the only dude, I must tread lightly. I'm thinking of writing an advice book for men, similar situations called Letters from Chickville. Why do you have to tread lightly? Why not listen a little? You might learn something. Richard Reed, Steve, if you get everyone to write, I'll never get to retire. I'll be shelving for eternity. You shouldn't retire. You know you're going to be miserable. You shouldn't retire. Or if you are planning on retiring at what, 65, something like that, extend it a decade. Work until 75. Town would want you to. The library would benefit. Who knows what you could think up to do to the library to improve it between now and then. Anyway, Lucia Bronstein, can you talk a bit about what it is exactly that turned you off from Sam Harris? I think he's lost a step. I think he's popped a cog somewhere along the line. Quite know what it is. I mean, everybody ages, present company accepted. But the main thing that bothers me is the books, obviously, since that's my focus on anything. And the books that he writes tend to be religious in a way that wants to have its cake and eat it too. That bothers me. That really bothers me. There are no higher dimensions. No matter what you might think or say to Joe Rogan, there are no higher dimensions that the human consciousness can actuate. Or just I've soured on him. Maybe I should more further examine why I have, but he bugs me now. I mean, he did a legendary podcast about Israel and Palestine, about the fundamental differences between them. It's been rebroadcast and we quoted a million times in the last month, and justifiably so, because it's really, really good. But I don't often hear him talk that way. He seems very much to be in this kind of word fog cloud of the IDW, and I deeply distrust that. Tolstoy 111, you know the Doctor Who character Davros? Disney has sent Russell T Davies notes that the character cannot work anymore because he's a bad image of disabled people. Insane. Yeah. Yeah. Davros can't be Davros anymore. It doesn't matter. Russell T Davies, new actor, new cast, new TARDIS. It doesn't matter. As long as the Forever Child is canon, Doctor Who doesn't matter. I can just let it go. I can just not think about it. Everything up until then, okay. Anything after that, no. It has to be gone. It has to be retconned out of existence. If it isn't, then it's not the show that anybody loves. It's not the show that anybody knows. So, uh, Joshua Crabo, speaking of Percy Jackson, do you like the book series? Not particularly. No. Kevin J.N., how's your Nat War going? They have largely disappeared. They were in significant numbers, and they're not in significant numbers anymore. I don't know if they're lurking somewhere, maybe massing, but I ordered a small plant from Easy Plants. They claim to just water once a month. I will see. Well, it's not so much the gnats, is that my plants aren't doing well. They were for a while. They're not doing well anymore. The pothos, they seem ailing. All of them do. And I stopped overwatering them. I paid strict attention to doing that. They've got plenty of sunlight all day long. They just I wonder if they've just exhausted the nutrients in the soil in those little pots. I mean, they can't last forever. They surely draw some nutrients from the soil. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't see them living the winter. I really don't. That's a shame. Uh, uh, Wilson is back. Gen Z will save us. We're more likely to be saved by aliens. Michael Lombardo, Steve, definitely sound passionate about your current nano project. Will you be publishing? I don't know. I don't know. Janet Wortman has been a constant cheering voice in my ear this whole year, saying, "Look, I will help you. I will walk you through the process of publishing, self-publishing." She's been a relentless positive voice saying, "You can do this. It looks intimidating, but you can do it." She's done it. Really nicely designed books that get out into the world. Her books are wonderful. Uh, so maybe, maybe a fantasy novel, that would be a weird thing to publish, but maybe I should just publish everything. Just if I could work out the practical details of the formatting and the cover artist and all that sort of stuff. If I could work out those practical details, what I would like is to be steadily publishing something of every month. Nonfiction, essays, collected reviews, straightforward literary fiction, historical fiction, nonfiction, long works of nonfiction. Just steadily doing that so that you all have books to buy if you want. And so that other people have books to buy. Right now, I'm not following my own advice about being that voice that someone else will find down the line. I'm not, except for my reviews. There's a vast library of stuff by me that's out in the world, but it's not my fiction. I really should do that. But anyway, Maximum Stedich. I too can sup with blockers. Oh, somebody got the Bull World Linton reference. Uh, uh, let's see here. Street Medic. I used to think the internet was going to bring the world together, but now it reminds me of what wiped out the Krell in Forbidden Planet. Well, it's good that it reminds you of that, since you're the only person who's ever seen that crappy movie. Grix. Touche. I haven't published anything, although there are poems of mine that have been published under other people's names. Have you ever been plagiarized by some published author? Not exactly. No. Not exactly. Bryce's 1000. I've enjoyed so many of your recommendations, but McCullough's Christianity is sublime. Oh my God, isn't it? Oh my God. A whole book in every chapter, a whole book almost in every section. How has fellow man been so intoxicated by Christianity is baffling. I so identify with this curiosity. I hope you're enjoying the book. I think I'm a big fan of his, but I honestly think that's the best thing he's ever going to do. Mac took an early lunch so I wouldn't miss the stream. Uh, Jenny Park says, "Real, I'm offended. I am an imaginary booktube friend." Colo Colo 1546. In addition to Elon Pape, would you also recommend Benny Morris? Not particularly, for maybe for argument's sake, for the rhetoric, but you won't get the same with Elon Pape. You get the sense of a sane person, a kindly, well balanced, sane person who is looking at this subject matter. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that that is exactly right. You don't get that feeling with Benny Morris, and maybe that will bother you. Street Medic, yes, Steve, I've read the great books. I've also read all the Harvard classics. Does mean I'm brainwashed? No, it just means you're wicked old. Fit to be read. Espionage sci-fi, I really liked. The Thing Itself by Adam Roberts. And Wilson Shugart is saying, "All hail Cruise." What is that a reference to? That can't be a Star Trek reference. You don't know Star Trek. Jack, you can't just opt out of prison. I was midway through typing this. Yeah, right. Typically speaking, you can't do that. You can't just say, well, all right, you can't do a Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan got a congressional subpoena and just ignored it. Steve Bannon got convicted and has just ignored it. He's just doing his podcast and working hard to overthrow every free country in this hemisphere. Doesn't seem to be anything to touch him. He's just he received a conviction. He should be in jail, and yet no. And I'm thinking that somewhere along the line, that is making Trump think that this is all ultimately not real, which I think would explain why he seems to be so much more upset about real estate law in New York than he is about the fact that he is under felony indictments. I think he's thinking this isn't real. There's no way that I'm going to suffer anything like that. I can opt out of prison if it comes to that, but they can still take my business. I don't want to take my business. Uh, we shall see. You can't opt out of prison. The only option he has is to change America. I think he wants to do that anyway. Street medic, but it makes you feel better, Steve. I've countered the great books by reading all the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew books as a sorbet. Yeah, it doesn't actually make me feel better. There's lots of adult books for you to read, fit to be read. Well, oh, where did you go? You you disappeared. Let's go and find you. Where are you? Oh my God. Look at all these comments. There we go. Well, the presidency wouldn't save him in Georgia, but the federal cases, I assume he can appoint a MAGA attorney general who can rescind the charges against Trump. Hopefully, the DC case moves fast and they lock him up and force him to make license plates. Uh, the presidency won't save him in Georgia, but a dictatorship would. The presidency wouldn't save him in Georgia, but the job that he actually wants would allow him to say to uh, Georgia MAGA militia, drag the Fulton County DA out of her office and behead her in Times Square. And if anybody objects to that, if her assistant says, well, you killed my boss on live camera, so I will now take on the case, kill her too. Uh, the job that he wants would allow him to interfere in Georgia, to put it mildly. Julie Martin, Vermin Camps, farewell to Manzanar, Clark Y Division. They called us enemy. Let's have a conversation, please. Doesn't sound like a conversation. It sounds like a whole bunch of discussion prompts. Ed Wiley, I'm all for people reading dumb candy fiction if that's what they want to read. They always feel the need to justify their guilty pleasure with at least these books inspire young readers. I'm okay with them reading dumb candy fiction too, but there's so much else out there that they would enjoy just as much. And you all have so little time. You all have so little time for reading. Uh, Mac, do you think the highly fragmented nature of Europe played a big role in the West succeeding due to them competing with one another? You said gunpowder was the biggest reason why, which is interesting. I'm not sure I know what you mean by the West succeeding. I'm stopped there. What on earth does that mean? Succeeding at what? Ryan, since we've gotten political, we don't have to stay political. We can't stay anyway. We're ending at 10 past the hour. That doesn't give us time to solve all the world's problems, unfortunately. Can we shout out one great member of Congress, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware? The joke in DC is if he was a foot taller and had a full head of hair, he'd be president. Okay, fine. Fine. Let's shout him out then. Sure, fine. Has he seen closed circuit TV camera? Has he seen private footage from DC law enforcement that shows him who the DC pipe bomber is? Does he know that pipe bomber is Marjorie Taylor Greene? Has he said anything about it? Has he been public about it? Has he called Donald Trump a traitor and used the word traitor ever in his senatorial career? Uh, Seems like a decent guy. We can certainly shout him out for that. We're on the edge of the abyss. We're on the edge of this country ending. So, uh, great member of Congress, I'm raising the bar a little bit higher. Congress isn't going to be here in 2 years. It's not going to be business as usual. Jake Tapper thinks it is. All of these people think, well, it's not going to happen here. I mean, like, don't be alarmist. It's not going to happen here. I'm still going to be able to offer bloviated commentary. I'm still going to be able to get my parking spot in senatorial, underground garage, as opposed to Anyway, democracies never do think it's going to happen. They always think they'll always say one thing or the other. The people will stop it. The military will stop it. Anyway, anyway, Jenny Parks. 85% of my reading is guilty pleasure or trash, and I make no excuse. They're fun to read and make me happy and keep me loving books. 85. You shouldn't. If they make you happy, that's fine. But you're living on the frosting of cake. And if you saw a kid doing that, you'd say, "I know it makes you happy, but it's not exactly healthy. It's also not as fulfilling as would be if you learned how to eat real food." 85% is too high a percentage. I think you probably know that. But Ryan, have we had a blob watch this stream asking for a friend? No, we haven't. Let's take a look. Uh, I can tell you already, big stuff is coming. Big stuff is coming. A storm tomorrow, and then a much bigger storm uh, uh, next week. Much bigger. So uh, let's take a look and see. I'm pretty sure that it will tell me that. I'm sure that it will represent that, although maybe not completely, because a lot of the nature of these storms is pressure fronts, which will not be visible on this app that I'm using. Ah, okay, all right. Well, you can see the big storm that's headed here, right? This big monstrosity is headed for New England, so there's no avoiding that. But I'm talking about this thing and up here, which is another storm is coming that's much bigger than this. That's on its way. So it doesn't look it doesn't look like that can miss Boston. It looks like that's pretty sure to hit here. Um, but it's the next one. This is tomorrow's just going to be warm rain. It's the one on Wednesday that's going to be fairly big, I think. Max says, "Do you think Islam is a religion of peace?" No, no, it is not. A lot of its adherents, most of its adherents, are very peaceful, but it is not. No, it. Do you think Christianity is? Christianity's founder would have said so, but Christianity as an organization, no. Militaristically interventionist for 2,000 years. Uh, Controversial, but just curious. No, no, no. It, neither one is a religion of peace, but at least on paper, it's actual directives, it's actual intellectual architecture, but its people very much are. But I believe that's because almost all people are people of peace. Almost all of them are. You won't get that impression if you doom scroll, as I have been doing way too much. But it is still true. Most of us just want to get along with each other, like each other, laugh with each other, help each other in times of trouble. Most of us just want that. So, but the religions of course don't exist without the people. But the religions themselves, as ideological constructs, are definitely not devoted to peace. Definitely not. Monet Doyle is responding to Jenny Parks. Wilson Shugart, Steve published. I'll copy edit for free. Do it. I might take you up on that. Copy editing is another thing you need, right? I'll need to hire an editor and a copy editor. I'll need to hire a cover illustrator and do all sorts of stuff that I don't want to do. If someone else would do that stuff, I would provide them with manuscripts right now. But no one has come forward to do all of that stuff. I have made offers in the last 2 years. I want this to happen. In the last 2 years, I've made offers telling people, how about we split any profits? If you'll do this work for me, I'll hand you the manuscripts. And if I know that we're friends, if I know that I can trust you, and if I know that you can do it, well, then do it, and then I don't have to. I think that's the main stumbling point, is that it all seems so tedious and depressing to learn. But anyway, Hannah's Books is here. You could give some nourishment to your potted plants. Also, make sure they are warm enough and that they are getting enough light in these dark times. Well, make sure they're warm enough. It's 70 degrees in Boston every day. It doesn't get cold here anymore. I don't know what you mean by nourishment. Does that mean plant food? I guess I could try that. I could ask my surly houseboy to get some plant food. I don't know anything about plant food. Is it bad to spray it on the plants in the same room where I'm feeding Frida? I guess I'd have to read up on that. Jenny Parks, or Street Medic, is responding to Jenny Parks. Jack says, "I promise the disabled community doesn't have the minds of toddlers. If this news about Davros is true, why have any villains at all backsliding into Hays Code style storytelling?" Yeah, well, the news about Davros is true, but it, and of course, disabled people will find it insulting. It doesn't matter though; they're not involved any more than any other of these progressive stack minorities are involved. The people who are doing this stuff don't care about those progressive stack minorities at all. Trans lives matter, Black lives matter, differently abled, neurodivergent. All the people who are promulgating those terms do not care about the people they claim to be enhancing in representation at all. Um, but anyway, Colombian Thunder says Forbidden Planet was very boring. Color Call 1546 says, Steve, when you think whether or not you should publish a writing, imagine if when ASPI was 20, yeah, you get my point. Yes, I do. I do get your point. And I should count my blessings because once upon a time, my route to publication would have been to try hard to break into mainstream publishing, and that's not necessary anymore. Mac, what did you think of Destinies Disrupted, the book on the Islamic perspective of history? Never read it. Street Medic, Forbidden Planet is a masterpiece. Margio, essays and literary reviews. I would love that. I'm in. Steve Ronstein, you missed this question earlier, and then when an in asked again, it looks like it got removed. Do you think Israel's heavy hand people aren't removing? No one's removing anything from the chat of a tiny booktube channel, I would think. Uh, do you think Israel's heavy-handed response can engender a new generation of more barbaric jihadi violence? I think it's unavoidable. Of course, it's totally unavoidable that that will happen. That that I don't understand some of the dimensions that I'm seeing. The Arab world in the area does not seem to care all that much that Arabs are being slaughtered wholesale on the streets of Gaza. Certainly not taking refugees, and won't take them even if the refugees could reach them. But it will definitely engender a whole new generation of jihadi violence. And ironically enough, a huge portion of that generation will be pampered Western kids, college students from the UK and the US. Stephen Bronstein, oh, where'd you go? Oh my God. Here, let's go back to where you are. Where are you? Or is it inevitable regardless? No, it wouldn't have been inevitable regardless. The nation, the realm, the region was quiet. Uh, but even the quiet in the region was papered over. The region was quiet, yes, but Israel's relentless expropriation of Palestinian land and settlements was progressing. In just two weeks before the October 7th massacre, the October 7th Hamas attack, there was video footage of Israeli cement mixers filling in a natural water spring in a Palestinian neighborhood. A war crime. And they filmed it. It wasn't like the footage was smuggled out. The soldiers, the IDF soldiers who were pouring cement into a well in a desert, they filmed it themselves. So that was ongoing. So maybe that part of it was inevitable anyway. Grix is back. What is a good book if in off the grid communities and life in remote areas? Oh my God, there are a million of them. Ironically enough, since you're off the grid, you're not on the grid, so you're not able to download these things. There are a million of them. I just read one. What was it called? They're all called the same kind of thing, and they're not. Honest to God, they're not. The books aren't as helpful as the YouTube videos. The YouTube videos actually show you what they're talking about, and there are endless numbers of YouTube videos to choose from of living off the grid, of you know tucking in the trailing tails of your carbon footprint and being self-sustaining. There are tons of channels like that. They use drone footage, they use public Wi-Fi, they make money from their viewers and are almost completely what they say they are. I just read a book though. What was it? I don't remember the name of it. It wasn't good. It's all the basic stuff. I mean, you start with the kernel of the emergency kit that you should have anyway. You just build out from there. Uh, let's see here. Mac says, "What is the best way to fight disinformation? I have a coworker who's an extremely nice person, but he also believes in MAGA conspiracy theories." Well, first, ordinarily, I would say friendship is the way to do that. You're far more likely to be cozened out of an irrational opinion by a friend who's absolutely smiling the whole time. You know, we all believe silly things. Let's talk about this a bit because I care about you. Ordinarily, in the past, that's the approach I would have said. It's enormously hard to deprogram someone. It takes a long, delicate touch. Now, I'm far more reluctant to say that because the person could kill you. Because if it's MAGA, the person could kill you. These are killbots. They have a switch in the back of their head that Donald Trump can throw. So, and when he does that, they kill people. He doesn't suffer for it, but they do. Of course, they either get shot dead or they go to prison and are just blinking because their switch has been turned back on. They have no idea what's happened. Uh, you want to be careful that your coworker isn't one of those people. Uh, Tolstoy 111, Forbidden Planet is notable science fiction getting the glossy MGM treatment, but it's wooden as all get out. Street Medic, keep dissing Forbidden Planet, and I'm going to Hulk out, except my Hulk looks more like Eric Carr. Grix is back. The time is approaching. We should make that live stream together that never happened, or I'll be devoured by a Scottish panther. It will be your fault. Oh, that's right. That's right. You're going to the wilds of Scotland. Yeah, we could do a live stream about being self-sufficient out in the wilderness, out in the back and beyond. I've done that a million times. I wasn't really self-sufficient because I had a lot of people catching my food for me. But you know what I mean. Jenny Parks is Forbidden Planet again. All right, okay. Street Medic Jim Jordan keeps misspelling his own name. Stephen Bronstein, do you think the problem of jihadism is even soluble? The new atheists, the so-called new atheists 10 years ago said the only thing that would do it would be a reformation in Islam. I'm not sure that that's called for. Most Muslims think that Hamas is insane. Most of them think that way. So I would never act that way. So soluble, I think a real good first step. I, no one's watching this Steve stream, so I can be frank. I think a really good first step to solving jihadism would be to kill every member of Hamas. Whether they think they're justified or not, whether Barnaby Raines thinks they're justified or not, whether Novara Media or Owen Jones thinks they're justified or not, kill every one of them. If you voluntarily signed on to an organization that wants to eliminate all Jews on the world, then you should probably die. You're never going to back away from that position. There's never going to come a time a year from now, 10 years from now, where you say, but I'm so glad I don't believe that anymore. That doesn't happen with this kind of thinking, with this kind of eliminationist anti-Semitism. It doesn't happen. The person is just, at that point, a viral vector. You just need to stamp them out. And then just go on from there. Hope that you can then establish discussions with people you can talk to. But I'd forbid it for me to agree with Ben Shapiro about anything. But you cannot have a discussion if the other side of the table wants you dead under any circumstances. That there is no way to have a debate or a compromise on such a situation. There's only one response to something like that. But anyway, James Rucala, which of Nicholson Baker's filthy books is the best? I haven't liked any of them. Richard Reeves, winter is coming. Winter is certainly coming for you, my friend. That is for sure. Winter is coming for you. If not tomorrow, then Wednesday. I think Wednesday you're going to get at least an icy coating, and Dad is going to get slammed. there's a snowstorm, and even the most forgiving models are predicting that Maine will get slammed. They're not sure about you, and I think it will be rain here. Jenny Parks, I've started buying some of your top 10 fantasy books from the last few years. Not all are available on Kindle now. Probably not. Probably not. I should look into that myself. Richardson reads, why I follow Crom. Well, most of BookTube would think you are Crom. Street Medic, yes, winter is coming, which means I'll be working a car wreck on the side of highway in 10-degree weather with 18-wheelers blowing by at 80 miles an hour. Oh my God, we'll all be thinking about you. You already know you're indispensable. Fit to be read, who is the surly houseboy? Don't you have one? Everybody should have one. They're really, really useful. They really are. He does everything here. It's true. He takes all my money, but he pays he pays the bills with it. Makes sure that the larder is full. All that sort of stuff. Anything goes wrong, if bulb goes out, somebody's going to need to unscrew the bulb and find another bulb and screw it back in. If a fuse blows, he's going to do whatever you do with a fuse or anything like that. He's very useful. If you don't have one, you should go on eBay and get one. Jenny Parks, another imaginary friend. No, my surly houseboy is not imaginary. Like, I remember. So I cracked up one time. People started to say, "Surely the surly houseboy is imaginary," and then at one point, Sarah from the Bookish Knitter piped up. I think it was in a comments field where people were just assuming that my surly houseboy was imaginary, and she said, "No, I've been there. I met him." And one person in that comments field, the suicidal impulse to say, "Well, you could be lying." Don't let Sarah's kind Canadian demeanor fool you. It is not a healthy thing to do to say that. And other people have met my surly houseboy, so he's not imaginary. No. Michael Lombardo, did you watch and enjoy the Beatles Now and Then video? Nope. Regarding plant food, there are short sticks of nutrients that you can insert into the existing potting soil to give it a boost. Would it work, or is it too late? I don't know. I don't know if it's too late. Street medic, yes. If you want any more proof, I'm nuts. I have a classical education, but chose a career as a paramedic. If that's not the definition of crazy, I don't know what is. Oh, and then right after you say the definition of crazy, the Spaminator shows up. Watching Hal Holbrook's Mark Twain tonight. Seen it. All right, I know that's not a have you read question, but it's pretty damn close. Uh, Hal Holbrook did his award winning one man Mark Twain show for roughly 400 years. I have seen it. Okay. Anyway, the Bookish Bryants. Good Lord. I was just talking about you saying that you made an announcement video that you're coming back. That's wonderful. Hi, Steve. What are you recording on these days? Well, until just very recently, I was recording on an old MacBook Air, 2013 MacBook Air, because I love it. I love it as a device, but didn't you know? You can't really record on an old Mac. You can. I did. Right. I've done thousands of videos on it. But it's not really good to record on an old MacBook. They aren't made for that anyway. And then somebody sent me an iPhone 11 Pro with three cameras, far better resolution, far better all of that, far better everything. So I switched over to putting it on a tripod and filming on the phone. Totally liberates me from a MacBook or any kind of laptop. I don't film on my laptop device anymore, so I don't have to consider whether or not that the particular laptop device that I'm using can film, which kind of frees me up a lot. I have now shifted all filming to this, which is terrific. Uh, let's see here. DT, I'm late since you're doing Dr. November. How do you like Graham Greene in general? I don't particularly like him in general, but I am going to go back to a lot of his spy stuff. Somebody suggested that I should probably do that as a recipe, as a remedy for Frederick Forsyth or Len Dayton kind of letting me down. There might be some truth to that, so I'll give that a try. Fit to be read. So true, Steve. The person could kill you. I feel insane when I think this, but my gut tells me a MAGA would be okay with a friend or family member being taken out by another MAGA after a debate. You have to consider it. These people have been brainwashed. Not metaphorically, not a cheap turn of phrase. They have been literally brainwashed. And brainwashed people will do things at the behest of other people. They will do things at the behest of imaginary people. If you know that someone's MAGA, I mean, if they are gone enough so that they don't count any social ills in telling you that, that's a huge concession anyway, to tell someone that says you're a Nazi. It says that you are the 21st century equivalent of a brown shirt, which is a red hat. That's a huge admission anyway. That means the person's already not caring as much about their social standing as they should. On top of that, you don't know. You have to be very careful when dealing with such people. Colombian Thunder, people's irrational ideas will never be changed when they're being insulted. Tempting friendship is the best way. However, more and more people take even friendly different opinions as an attack. I know we've reached the point where it's hard even to disagree with friends. That's why BookTube and chats like this perk me up so much. But yeah, even if you're doing it in a friendly way, in ages past, when things weren't quite so polarized, you could take a friend aside, have them over for wine and calzones, and just talk through some things. And they might not accept a change wholeheartedly on that one evening, but it would be a brick in the wall, and eventually it would happen. I've done that, and I've had it done to me for irrational opinions that I was holding at one time or another. Street Medic is responding to Jack. Street Medic is also responding to Jack. We need to go through these comments because we've got to wrap things up. Uh, the Spaminator, thank you for having the guts to say that. I've respected you from the beginning, but even more so now. I don't know what you're talking about. Or are you referring to Street Medic? Uh, I don't know. I don't know who has guts. If it's something I said, I want to know. Color Cola 1546 says, I think this is officially your longest live stream. No, not even close. No way. We're going to close at 2 hours. Is that? Maybe it is. I've missed you all. Fit to be Read is the houseboy, that dreamboat who occasionally guest stars on the channel. I forget his name. David Murphy. No, no. First of all, David Murphy's a nerd. It's so weird to have him called a dreamboat. But no, no. David lives far away. I strongly tried to get him for one more visit in 2023, but it just wasn't possible. So it didn't happen. No, my surly houseboy is someone else. He's not a dreamboat. He doesn't even look human. I was going to say, but he is human, but I'm not 100% sure of that. There might be a reason why Kmart was discounting him when I found him as a pod. But no, if you call David Murphy a dreamboat, it's only going to go to his head. Oh my God, I just mailed him a box of books this morning. I hope he's not watching this. It'll be insufferable. Let me know living with him. He will be back. I want him to come back for another week so we can have a lot of fun. Every time he comes here, we have a lot of fun. Jenny Parks, your relationship with your surly houseboy sounds very Downton Abbey. I wouldn't say that I have a relationship with him. Unless giving him a to-do list is a relationship. I don't know. Street Medic, does your surly houseboy wear a shirt? Oh, yes, of course he does. He's as skinny as a rail. I wouldn't want to see him without a shirt. Book time with Elvis. Maybe Steve is imaginary. We've reached full inception point here. Hannah's Books. I was absolutely shocked when I met the surly houseboy. Not imaginary and actually not surly either. Everybody comes over here and says he's not really surly, but I think he's plenty surly. Jenny Parks, all of us imaginary. We are in the Matrix. Book time with Elvis. It must be awful late where you are. Wow, Bookish Bryants and Jason in one day. I know, very good day for BookTube. We got the Bookish Bryants announcing that they're coming back, and we got Jason Harrigan making a video. The only thing that would make it a trifecta was if Mark Richardson would find time to make videos in that little man cave of his at the front of the house. Oh, Mark Richardson is here. The Bookish Bryants are imaginary. Yeah, just maybe so. Book time with Elvis is AS Byatt died today, yesterday. Were you a fan, Steve? I was. Yes, I am. Michael Lombardo, I see book people. Yes, you're all imaginary. Street Medic, yeah, me versus the Spaminator reminds me of when I was a kid in Louisiana. Hearing my dad say, thank God for Mississippi, when our state did something stupid, which is all the time. Yeah, America tends to use Mississippi for exactly that reason. No matter how bad things are, thank God we're not in Mississippi. And that's just from bad government. People in Mississippi are incredible. That's just bad government. Fit to be Read is responding to Street Medic. Jenny Parks, maybe that's how Steve really gets his thumbnails. The Spaminator, I was referring to your comments about how to deal with radical jihad. Oh, me. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not being jingoistic here. With Hamas pledges to destroy every Jew in the world and to die to the last man, woman, and child to do that. There is no way to reason with someone who does that. There is no way to say, well, okay, I understand that's your position. Now, how about we talk about alternating street parking? No, that person is gone. That's not like some of the social conditioning that's happening through Fox News that you might be able to counter program. That's gone. At least if people are going to say to me, I am being extreme, that isn't true, then show me even one example of when that has ever been countered, of when anyone has ever come away from that alive. The Bookish Bryants are back. Our new puppy hopes we aren't imaginary. This is a spoiler for our comeback video. A new puppy. Oh. Fit to be Read. David Murphy equals Stone Cold Fox. Oh, God. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't at all. God. Oh, God. He works out. He has zero body fat. Wears all the skin-tight clothing. But he's not a Stone Cold Fox. He's a nerd. He likes Schumpeter, for Pete's sake. Richard Reeds. Oh, where'd you go? I saw the Bryant's announcement and really cheered. Yes, it'd be nice if you came back as well. That'd be nice. Street Medic, I'm supposed to be reading, but I'm wasting time here. Only for a minute more. We're ending at 10 past the hour. Let's see here. Fit to be read. Glad the Bookish Bryants are back. Me too. Me too. Book time with Elvis. It's 2 a.m. Just woke up and here you are. Yes. But we're leaving. I'm not going to be able to get to all these comments. Michael Lombardo, happy Friday, Steve and all. Yes. Same to all of you. You really did cheer me up. Jenny Parks, I thought you were more than an hour ahead of us in the UK. The Spaminator, I have surly house cats that just won't stop eating the houseplants. And I have a giant semi-surly house dog. Those are just as good as Shirley Houseboys, right? No, my Shirley Houseboy has opposable thumbs. So if the toilet backs up, or if we're running out of soap in the shower, well, I can just say, hey, try saying that to your cats and see what happens. Joshua Crabo, could the surly houseboy be Micah Cummins? No, Micah only visits. I'm hoping he will. He will. If I'm back in 2024, I'm hoping all these people come for more visits. And he has had time for book 2. We're going to do a video this weekend, I think. Book time with Elvis. Yes, hopefully I'll wake up soon and everything will be okay. Connor, I've nearly finished Paul Manette's Borrowed Time. It's one of those books where I almost don't want to read to the end because I know how heartbreaking it will be. I assume Becoming a Man is also good. It is very good. Yeah, maybe not as good as Borrowed Time, but I know very few books that are. So, Colombian Saunders saying good night. Street Medic says I think you're asking, are you a nerd because you know who Schumpeter is? I don't know. You might remember David's channel. He nuked it, but you might remember him talking nonstop about Schumpeter. But anyway, anywho, I'm still going to have to leave. I'm sorry. It's 11 past the hour now, but I'm going to have to bid you all good night. But this was wonderful. And it shouldn't have been, right? This is a perfect demonstration of the wonder of the kind of conversation that I'm talking about here. This shouldn't have been wonderful. We touched on all kinds of negative subjects. Some of the subjects that were depressing me throughout the day. But talking about it with normal people was all the world. It was all the world. That was wonderful. So I want to thank you all. Absolutely thank you all. But I am going to beg off and read The Ultimate Cure. I'm going to beg off and read some of the books that I got today, maybe, and also a couple of new releases. So I will see you all tomorrow, I hope. If it rains steadily, rain tends to interfere with uploading videos. Heavy rain all day long tends to interfere with that to the point where it isn't possible. I'll have to hope that the rain beggars off. It looks like it might all go out to sea, so we don't get anything. We shall see. Actually, let's check before I go. Let's check the latest percentages and see for rain tomorrow. No, the percentages aren't going down. So it looks like all morning long it's going to rain. So I might have to leave video making till the afternoon. The rain is going to end in the morning here tomorrow. It looks like there might even be unimpeded sunlight at some point in the afternoon. So maybe I'll leave my video making till the end of the day. But anyway, I will wrap this up for now. I will see you all then. This was a long Stevestream, wasn't it? Very much appreciated. So much appreciated. So I'll see you all then. Thank you all. Oh my. Well, I hit the spot, baby. That did.